Rengoku in the Mugen Train arc, but later we learned he was the only demon in the 12 Kizuki with no memory of his past. Despite being a demon, he followed his own moral code, never fighting or eating women, and always battling with honor. His strength was unmatched, capable of regenerating to the point of being nearly invincible. But during the Infinity Castle arc, seeing Tanjiro reminded him of his old master, unlocking his lost memories. Overcome with the weight of his past, Akaza chose to destroy his own body rather than regenerate, even as Muzan tried to stop him. His death was heartbreaking, showing that Akaza was never truly a villain. Had he not given up his will to fight, the Demon Slayers would have had no chance of winning. Did Akaza become loved after the Infinity?
Akaza wasn't just another demon in Demon Slayer. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't even a monster. He was a man trapped in a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Cursed to live forever, even when all he wanted was to die. Everyone talks about Tanjiro's kindness or Muzan's evil, but no one talks about Akaza, the one demon whose immortality wasn't a gift. It was a punishment. What if I told you that Akaza's death wasn't just the end of his story? It was the only way he could finally be free. When you first meet Akaza, you instantly know he's different. The way he walks into the Mugen Train arc, confident, brutal, calm. He doesn't need to scream or posture. He's chaos wrapped in elegance. His fists move faster than most swords, and his regeneration makes it look like nothing can touch him. He doesn't just survive attacks, he absorbs them. To the audience, Akaza feels immortal, but that's exactly the point. Demon Slayer uses Akaza to flip the concept of immortality on its head. Because immortality sounds like power, but in Akaza's case, it's suffering that never ends. Muzan gave his upper moons eternal life, but stripped away their peace, their joy, and their humanity. Akaza didn't live forever. He just couldn't die. Akaza's immortality wasn't freedom. It was a cage. Every second of his existence as a demon was a punishment. He could fight for centuries, regenerate endlessly, and destroy anyone who crossed him. Yet, deep down, a part of him remembered. Every time he looked into the eyes of his opponents, something flickered. A memory, a feeling, a voice. That was the human inside of him. Hakuji, the boy who trained to protect his sick father, the boy who lost everything because of poverty, and the man who finally found love only to have it ripped away from him. Akaza's immortality meant he could never escape that memory. He couldn't die, but he also couldn't forget. Most people think immortality means invincibility, but Demon Slayer makes it clear that it's a prison for those who've lost their purpose. Akaza's body regenerates, his wounds heal instantly, but his soul doesn't. Every battle just buries him deeper under guilt. Muzan may have given him strength, but he took away everything that made him human. And that's what makes Akaza's immortality so tragic. He's trapped in time. No matter how strong he becomes, he can't move forward. He can't grow, he can't love, he can't forgive. He's frozen in eternal suffering. When Akaza faces Tanjiro and Giyu, something shifts. Tanjiro doesn't fight with hate. He doesn't see Akaza as a monster. He sees him as someone lost. And that's what hits Akaza harder than any attack ever could. Because Tanjiro reminds him of who he used to be. A boy who wanted to protect others, not destroy them. During that fight, you can see the cracks forming, not in Akaza's body, but in his mind. For the first time in centuries, he hesitates. He remembers his fiancée. He remembers his father. He remembers that he wasn't born evil. He became this way. That's when the so-called immortality starts to crumble. Because Akaza's regeneration slows down, his attacks grow weaker. He's no longer fighting to live, he's fighting against himself. And when he finally sees his human reflection, something inside him breaks. Akaza doesn't die because Tanjiro kills him. He dies because he finally lets go. He remembers his name, his past, the people he lost. And in that moment, he rejects the immortality Muzan gave him. He destroys himself now, not out of defeat, but out of peace. That's why Akaza's death is so powerful. He isn't killed, he's redeemed. After centuries of running from his guilt, he finally faces it and chooses to rest. His immortality ends not because his body failed, but because his soul finally healed. So, was Akaza immortal? Yes. But not in the way we think. His immortality wasn't physical, it was emotional. It was the endless loop of pain, regret, and self-hatred that he could never escape. Every demon in Kimetsu no Yaiba represents a human flaw, and Akaza's flaw was the inability to forgive himself. His immortality symbolized what happens when you can't move on from your trauma, when you're stuck in a moment that never ends. And that's why Akaza's death feels so human, because it's not about dying, it's about finding peace. Akaza wasn't just a villain, he was a man who forgot how to live and finally remembered what it meant to die. That's what makes him one of the most emotional and beautifully written characters in Demon Slayer. Because even though he was immortal, he never truly lived, until the moment he let himself die. So no, Akaza wasn't immortal because he couldn't die. He was immortal because he couldn't forgive himself. And that's what makes his story not just tragic, but unforgettable.